So you're going to use your credit card for a cash advance. Does anybody, well, I don't know if anybody really has a credit card. We came to the conclusion here. Anybody at 149?
No.
Anybody have a credit card?
No.
I was going to say, anybody ever tried this? I've never done this, so I can't really tell you. If you notice though, so basically, you're going to use your credit card as kind of like an ATM. But when you do this, and if you ever do this, beware, your rates are going to be pretty high. Okay? And the biggest thing is, and we'll say this towards the end for sure, but we'll say it at the beginning too. If you're going to do this, and you already use your credit card as a regular credit card, when you start making payments, it is always going to, your payments are always going to go towards your purchases before it goes towards your cash advance. Why again? Because if the cash advance has a way higher interest rate, they're going to want to try to get that interest rate from you as long as they possibly can. That makes sense? Okay. So today we are doing cash advances. Basically, we're borrowing straight up cash from the credit card company. Okay, so in a sense, a lot like your ATM, but you're going to have a really, really high periodic rate. Now, normally when you do this, it's going to be a daily periodic rate. So again, this is where you have to read the question very carefully. If they again tell you that it's an APR, that's my annual percentage rate, and then they say you have to figure out your interest by a daily rate, I have to take my APR and do what with it?
Divide by 365.
Exactly right. Okay? Because it's daily. Sometimes they'll just give you the daily rate. Now, how do you know when you still have to move your decimal plate? That's where I think some people are still having a problem also. So when they tell you that they give you the daily periodic rate, if it's a rate, it could look like a decimal number already, but if it still has a percentage sign or percent sign at the end, then you still have to move your decimal 2 places to the left. So anytime that they give it to you and there's a percent sign with it, before you use it, move your decimal 2 places to the left to get a decimal.
So if there's not, you just leave it?
Right. Then you could use that because they've already done that for you. Okay? So, again, to find out my interest owed, I'm going to take the amount borrowed, all right, times the daily periodic rate times the number of days of the loan. So again, this is huge that you make sure you write this down. To find out the amount owed.
What are we finding?
This is how much I'm going to owe on my cash advance. So basically, I'm going to ask my credit card company for $200 or something. So the amount owed is, okay, my principal. So again, the amount that I asked for times my daily periodic rate. So this is again where we're thinking about dividing by 365 probably, because they're going to give it to us as an annual percentage. And then we're also going to multiply by the number of days that we borrow it. So another thing that you really want to think about is you probably don't want to keep this very long. If you're going to borrow money from your credit card, it should probably be a real fast thing, meaning you should do it and you're just waiting to get paid. You get paid, you use that paycheck to pay off this thing as fast as you can. Go ahead.
For a credit card, could you like take money
how you would actually do this, but I would guess yes.
So
So
like,
you're gonna put your card in just like you would for your,
Because it asks you if you want cash back when you use it. So I assume you can just say yes, and then they'll just give you money.
right, but I think you can do that anywhere too, right? Like at Walmart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't know if you can physically stick it into like a ATM, because how do they know that that's you? Because you wouldn't have a PIN for your credit card number, you know what I mean?
Yes, you do.
You do?
Yeah.
It asks you for one if you go to an ATM.
Not
For your
a
credit card?
A debit card, yeah.
Yeah, debit card, but then it says.
No, when
you
I
get
use
to
my
choose
mom's,
credit
it
or
has a
debit
code.
card, so you must have a PIN for your credit card too, right?
Well, see, but in that case, I would think that's that same card. So I could use my debit card as a credit card if I wanted to.
Yeah, but if you have a separate credit card.
But if I had a separate true credit card,
Isn't it just like the last four numbers or something that it asks for?
I don't think so. No, because your PIN number for your debit card isn't necessarily the last four of
No, I
your
know.
account number. So I don't, you see what I'm saying? So that only occurs if you use your debit card as a credit card.
so like,
You know what I'm saying? So at Walmart, or you go and get gas, you swipe that card, you would know this with a Casey's guy, right? So if it says credit, they're just running it as a credit card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cards typically have a chip.
Okay, to show that it's who's theirs, or, yeah, okay? Does that make sense? Did that get asked what you
I
asked?
don't know
Well,
what
I-
you're talking about.
like if you were allowed to take cash out of an ATM, like with a credit card, and you had to pay the bill, could you just like keep the cash and then have like extra money for the interest they had to pay? Like, is that a thing? Could you do that? Because don't you have to pay with a check? I don't know how that works.
To pay off your credit card?
Like, say you take like $100 out with your credit card, and then you just keep the $100 and wait till the next month, and then you get your bill.
Yeah, but like I said, you're gonna be paying then interest on that.
Yeah, and you just give like, what, I don't know how much interest is, just extra money to pay that off.
Yeah, but you're defeating the purpose of it.
I guess.
You know what I mean? Because you're tallying money for a useless purpose
I guess.
against yourself. Okay? Alright, so, notice here, the finance charge for this is taking your interest plus any initial or any fees. When you do these cash advances, there's going to be a fee. So not only are you going to ask for some cash, you're going to probably get a pretty high periodic rate. You also have to pay a fee. So they're going to say that your one-time fee is. So that's going to be a part of your finance charge. So when we do this, this would be how much I'm going to owe because of my cash advance. And then this would also plus your finance charge. And my finance charge is going to be my interest plus any fees. Okay? So then this would be the total amount that I'm going to owe. Okay? So let's look at something like this. Page 149, letter A. Vera used her credit card in an ATM to borrow $200 on a cash advance. So obviously you can do this because they just said it. Right here. Use her credit card in an ATM. Her card company charged a cash advance fee of $5 and daily periodic interest rate of 0.0487%. If Vera paid the cash advance and finance charges back at the end of 25 days, what was the total finance charge on the cash advance? So here you're only asked about the finance charge. So, do I need to move my decimal 2 places to the left? Yes. So they already did the dividing by 365 part. Everybody agree? Okay. Because notice it says, and the daily periodic interest rate of. So, for letter A, we are going to do $200 times, what is my periodic rate?
487.
And it really wasn't, but you believe whatever you think. Times 25. So, how much?
So do you always have to do that first thing before you can find the finance charge?
Yep. So this is gonna be a part of my finance charge. So this is really, this part right up here is to find your interest.
That is an interest,
This part right up here.
24.35. Wait, did I do 200?
I was gonna say, that's way too loud. Don't forget to do this. Did you move it 2 places?
Yeah, I did.
So how much?
2.425.
So, is that my answer for my finance charge?
No.
What else do I have to do?
So that's interest?
That's my interest. Okay?
I am not doing that. I don't think I've ever spelled interest like that.
Not a lot of fun too.
Oh, now.
What else do I gotta do? Add my $5. So again, remember, my finance charge is the interest plus the fees. So again, this part in the box is the interest part. Okay? So then I'm gonna add $5 because that was my fee. So mine is $7.45.
So that's your finance charge?
So this is my finance charge. This is how much I would have to pay. So then what would I have to pay back? This plus what? My $200. Because that's what I got from the ATM. Okay, but they don't ask us that. They just ask us what is our finance
So
charge.
then they would ask for the cash advance?
They would ask what was the total you owed. And then that would be your cash advance, which was the 200 plus this.
207.45 would be what you owe.
Yes, 207.45.
And that's just the finance.
All right, letter B. Akbar borrowed $150 on a cash advance from his credit card company. The card company charged a cash advance fee of 3% and a daily periodic interest rate of 0.058% for 35 days. What total amount did Akbar need to pay off the cash advance? So, how do you find your fee?
You times whatever your interest is by the, or whatever your amount owed is by 3%.
Right, so Akbar borrowed $150. So we're gonna take 150 times 0.03. And this is going to equal, obviously, a number, but this would be my what? Fee. For this particular case. So in the last one, they told us what our fee was. This one, you have to actually figure out the fee. Somebody do that?
4.5.
$4.50. Agreed? Okay? So now what are we gonna do? 150 times. Do I need to move my decimal? Yes. 0.00058
487.
times 35. $4.87. So my grand total is, now, here's the difference. What's it say for the question?
What total amount did Akbar need to pay
So
off?
add those two and then add 150.
Exactly right. So this one says, what is the total amount? So I need to include my fee, this number, which is my interest, and $150. So we get what? 7, 13, 9, 5, 1. Correct? Is that right?
Sounds right.
Something's not right, because
That's because your decimals are, it's like 487, not 58. Oh wait, no, I was looking at letters.
I got 159.37.
this number right here,
You missed a decimal somewhere.
this number right here they have is 305. Is that right?
Yeah.
It wasn't done.
So you should have taken 150 times this times 35 for 305
Yeah.
instead of 487.
It's
You own it, doubled an apology.
You! That was you that said that!
Me?
Yes!
What did I say?
You're the one that told me it was 487.
Oh, I thought, I was looking at letter A, I was trying to tell you the percent.
So you just add that?
Yes, so add this, this,
I was
and
wondering how you
100.
got that right.
Yeah.
Hey! Stop! Say it again. Add this, plus this, plus $150. You're gonna round, as soon as this comes out and as soon as this comes out, you can round those numbers right away.
And then
to
we
cents.
add them like that.
So, we should have had 157.55 for my grand total. Okay? Questions on those two? But again, notice the difference. What's the finance charge? What's the total amount that I owe? Big difference. So then the last couple are talking about what I said earlier. If you purchase, or if you have purchases and cash advances on your credit card, they are going to be separate rates. So your purchases and everything would be a different rate from your cash advance. They're always going to make your cash advance a little higher rate. And when you start making payments on your credit card, your payment will go towards your purchases before it will go towards your cash advance. You'll have to pay off your entire purchases before you can start on your cash advance. And again, the reason why they are going to do this is because if it's a higher rate for your cash advance, they want to make money longer or more money. Now again, notice that we said that this was a really higher rate, but if you think about what it was, it's really not all that much difference. Okay, so even though that they say that it's a lot higher, you know, the amounts that we're dealing with in these two particular problems for sure really didn't make that big of a difference. Now, if you're trying to borrow a huge amount, that would definitely distort this interest amount. But what you also have to realize is there's probably, or not probably, there's going to be a limit to how much you can have for a cash advance. I think mine's $500. So you just have to, and that would be in that little contract that you would have had way at the beginning. So turn the page on page 150 and look at letter C. So basically now we're looking at the difference between what we're going to pay off. Jolinda made a payment on her credit card, but she did not pay off the balance. The next month, she has an average daily balance for purchases of $263.98. What are her total finance charges if it is a 30-day billing cycle? So, what the heck am I going to do here? Well, this one you got to go back up to example 2. So go back up to the top here, or the middle of the page, and read through example 2. Jolinda's credit card has an APR of 14% for purchases and 21% for cash advances. So they're telling you right there. But notice the difference between the two percentages, right? 14 versus 21%. They use an average daily balance method with a daily periodic rate. So, in this particular case, how do I find, for C, my daily periodic rate for purchases? What would I have to do? Well, which one is my rate for purchases?
14%.
14%. So I'm going to take 14% and divide it by 365. Okay, again, because the 14% is an APR, and they tell me I want a daily percent. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to take my 14 divided by 365, and then move it 2 places. So this would be 0.000383561. Then you would have to actually look to see if they tell you to round it to a certain place or not. So notice here, it doesn't really tell you to round to any places. But this would be, okay, so I took this. This was my answer that I got in the calculation right here. So then I still have to move it 2 places. But before I move it 2 places, I should take this number right there and round to 4 decimal places. That's what we had done previously in the chapter. So here, don't look at this right now. Just look at this part. If I round this to 4 decimal places, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm rounding this to 0.384. Right, Molly? And then I'm going to put my other 2 zeros on it because I got to move my decimal place. So this is the percentage I'm going to use in C. Does everybody understand why that is? APR, turning it to a daily rate. Before I move my decimal 2 places, I round to 4 decimal places. So I look at the 5th, and it was a 5, so I make that number in front of it into a 4. So then I would take and do this percentage times, what was my amount of purchases in C? 263.98. And how many days was it? 30 days. So if I do this multiplication right there, it should tell me my finance charge, or my interest, sorry. How much? What'd you get? I don't know.
Is there no fees?
No fees for this one. Because this is my purchases one again, right?
So, won't your, what you call the time search be the same? Can that happen?
What's that?
What you call the time search can be the same? Because if you're just doing that, you finance charge.
Right, this would be my finance charge, and then I would add it on to my previous balance. So for this one right here, I got $3.04. Everybody agree with that? Okay? So again, you just got to make sure that you read the problem carefully and know what you are doing your math to. Is it for my purchases or is it for my cash advance? And then this percentage would change. For the cash advance, we would basically do the same process, but my percentage was, I think, 21%. And that's in that middle part of example 2 also. That makes sense, what we're saying there? Okay. So some of them you might have to figure out your purchases and your cash advance one. And I think they actually wanted you to do that for this one too. So we would go through and we would do 21% of 365. Find that percentage, and then the cash advance, you have to go back up to the top and see what they did. They did $200, so whatever that percentage was, $200 times 30. This would be my finance charge for my cash advance, and then I would add them together for my grand total. Because I'm still going to have to pay a grand total, but it just depends on how I get to that grand total because of the different percentages. That makes sense to everybody, what I'm saying there?
And that's to find the what?
For what?
What are you doing?
This is just still in letter C. So this part would then go back and do the cash advance part. So I'm going to do,
Multiplying that?
what's that?
230.
Yes, with my percentage, but I'd have to find the percentage first. So I'm doing the exact same thing I did up here, but this part would be for my purchases. This part down here is for my cash advance. So if I did the cash advance part, you get $3.45.
So cash advance is just like.
That's stupid.
Oh?
Well, cash advance is you using your credit card as a debit card to get the cash.
You owe $3.45.
Yeah, I owe $3.45 for my finance charge and the cash advance that I took out. Cash advance is my $200. This is how much purchases I still have on my card. This is the cash advance that I have. So it's two different things.
Got it.
What would be a reason for someone to do this?
You want cash?
You just use a debit card, because then you won't get charged a fee.
Maybe you don't have a debit card.
Or you're trying to.
If you don't have a debit card and you have a credit card, that's the only way that you might be able to get
Sorry,
cash.
Carter.
You might not have cash in your checking account. You know what I mean? So you need some kind of cash, you need groceries or something. But again, I wouldn't keep doing this because you're gonna end up, poorer than what you are. Okay? So, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Do we need to do letter D? Okay? So, we'll start looking at, I think in the next sections or so, how much, kind of what Donald was getting at. Why would I do this? And what happens if I only pay the minimum balance? I think that's coming up. And again, I told you you're going to be shocked. This will shock you about the minimum balance when you do this. Okay? So, if you need help